All right, we're back. Stephen has just found his glasses.
Baby.
We've been talking about
Thank you.
women. We've been talking about approaching women. We've just deleted the first half an hour of recording because my computer got full. But we're gonna hit the ground running, bro.
Let's do it.
So we're talking about how in this modern age, even amongst men who practice retention, the art of approaching women has been lost. And we are talking
Yes.
about how to do that, how to approach women, because it's a key skill as a man. You need to be able to do this. You can't just be thinking that you're over there doing your grind, working on your shit, and then that a woman, a goddess is just going to magically appear in your reality. You've got to learn how to approach. So, can you just run us through what you were saying, Stephen, about the art of approaching women?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, initially, when you're starting the practice of retention, you don't, ultimately, you probably shouldn't be engaging with women. You should just be focusing on eradicating lust out of your life. But eventually, there comes a time when, unless you're making the decision to be a brahmachari and be a complete celibate, you want to actually start approaching women again. You want to engage with the opposite sex in a non-lustful capacity. And I think that's something that a lot of men struggle with, especially when they're lustful, and then when they're getting off of lust, it's a level of discomfort because the eyes want to engage with parts of the female body that it used to, right? That it used to kind of just focus and drool over. But now you're looking at making eye contact with them. You're looking at being completely present. You're looking at them without the outcome or the feigned necessity to get them, to get them in the bed, right? As the outcome, as the goal. You're just kind of taking it moment to moment. And that level of presence, that level of energy is felt by the woman. They know, like, I mean, they know when you're approaching them and you're trying to get the number to take them to bed, right? That's why a lot of the cold approaching doesn't necessarily work because most men are going up there smelling of the intention of intercourse. And so if you're just coming up there like having a good time, right? Like, hey, I'm having a good time, and if you want to come over here and enjoy the good time that I'm having, you're more than welcome to. If not, don't worry about it. But I'm going to keep having a good time regardless of whether you're in the picture or not. And I can tell you firsthand, and I'm sure you know this, Ben, I'm sure most of the men watching, listening to this, know that when we're PMOing, that's not a good time. And women can smell that. They know we're in the dark, dingy corners of our rooms, illuminated by the disgusting pixels on the screen. And so, after we're done, we go to the store to get some ice cream or to wallow in a bottle of booze or something, and we see a beautiful woman that we might want to approach. She can smell that desperation on us, like a shark with blood in the water. And so, surprisingly, Ben, if you want to be successful with women, if most men want to be successful with women, you actually have to embody being a good guy, not being lustful, not being a complete degenerate, because women know that, unless you're a complete Casanova, suave, game guy. I mean, it's just a player. It's very, you have to be authentic. You absolutely have to be authentic. And I can tell you that when I was engaging in PMO, that wasn't the authentic. It's an not even being able to string a sentence together, not being able to look at myself in the mirror. I mean, how in the world could I go out there and engage with a woman if I can't even look at myself in the mirror? Like, come on, man, come on.
So, wait, you couldn't really talk properly when you were in PMO?
No, I'd probably make no. I just made noises, a lot of
Grunts?
grunt noises. Yeah,
Did,
and yeah.
did you ever try
I was
approaching a woman when you were in that state?
actually yes, I did. And the quality, although there was some success, the quality wasn't necessarily there. Wasn't there.
She didn't
You
take
know,
well to the grunts.
didn't take well to the grunt.
Right.
You know, And I have a pretty loud clap. Like there's one thing I usually put this on the resumes, Ben, but I have a fairly loud clap, and that's also how I would communicate, and it would scare the women, and they'd run away. I would just clapping, really loud.
You just go up to them
Like
and start clapping.
Yep.
That's
It got their
incredible.
attention, but not in a good way. Not in a good way.
Yeah.
And here, I'll say this. See, I'm not here yet with that, Ben. I'm going to be 100% transparent and say that on this current God mode streak of 6 months, I have not experienced this yet, but I had experienced this on my last 9-month streak. And see, I remember quite specifically, I was in the gym one day doing my workout, jamming out some good beats. And there was a woman next to me on the machine. And she just started to, I could tell she was looking over, and she just started to make these very sensual grunts as she was doing her reps to get just to get my attention to look over at her. And see, that's what they see. And that's the level you get to where you don't give them attention. And so they will blatantly try to get your attention because they say, hey, look, I'm an attractive woman. That's at least a moderately attractive dude. Why isn't he acknowledging my existence? And because he's not, now I got to do my own little peacocking to get his attention so that I can feel validated. And that's what a lot of these, and so they expect you to hit on them. They expect that validation. So if you don't give that to them, they feel like that's something wrong on their part.
Major knock to the self-image. We were talking about the egregores yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Sound a bit like the Gorgonites of Small Soldiers. But could you tell us a bit more about that?
The Gorgonites? Yeah, like Archer. You want to know about Archer or which Gorgonite in particular?
Oh
no, you're talking about egregores. I'm sorry, egregores.
Egregores. Yeah.
Man, Small Soldiers. That's a slapper, bro.
That was movie, a fucking. I gotta watch that movie again with my
Chip Hazard. Man, Chip Hazard.
Major man. Chip Hazard. Reporting for Judy, sir.
Tommy Lee Jones is Chip Hazard, bro.
Oh man, that was some good times.
Good times, man. Good times. But yeah, egregores. So like you're right. We were talking about egregores, and that relates. Kind of balls of energy, right? Just kind of focal points of energy and accumulation spots of energy that aren't necessarily tangible. So you can think of like you can think of Coca-Cola, the accumulated societal mental energy that is all focused on Coca-Cola. Everybody thinking about Coca-Cola all around the world is an egregore, right? Like the Coca-Cola isn't necessarily an individual. It's a building, sure, it's a company, but it's that accumulation of mental energy. And so we can actually attribute that to women, right? Like think about it. If let's say you were referring to your escapades in South America and being amongst big booty Latinas. And so think about each big booty as being an egregore. As each man walks by said booty and acknowledges the booty and says, wow, that is a big booty, you are providing that booty and ultimately that woman with your energy, with your attention. And so it accumulates over time, and eventually that booty in itself becomes an egregore and accumulates this kind of ethereal energy. And so in order to stop this, in order for men to get their energy back, A, you got to stop looking at it, and B, you got to find something that's more interesting and probably maybe a little bit more productive to put your energy on. Maybe pick an egregore that is actually going to benefit you. Is there somewhere that you can tap your mental energy? Maybe like a group, maybe like a Discord group or something, one of which being called the Sons of God, where you can, instead of applying that mental energy into something like a booty, okay, you can actually take that and put it into a think tank and be amongst a bunch of other like-minded men that are putting and pooling their mental energy to help get them to where they want to be.
That was such a seamless plug, bro. You're a smooth
Thank you.
talker. You're
Thank you.
definitely the right choice for this podcast where we're talking about approaching women, because that was clean.
I appreciate that. I didn't breathe. That was one take too. I was breathing out of my ears with that one, actually.
That's incredible, man. Yeah. I I want to know more about I want to know more about your ideas on what we should be doing as men on retention in regards to women, because I think a lot of guys are just, holding out. They're just kind of like holding their nuts, but not really doing anything with it. And maybe they're doing the physical exercise, but where do you feel we need to be as men on this retention path when it comes to approaching women, interacting, you know, racking up the body count or not? What's your thoughts on all of that? Finding your priestess, that's a big one.
It's a really good question, because I think ultimately in a lot of men's journey, that are practicing retention, ultimately talking to women and finding a quality woman is the path. And so, is there a specific point along the journey where this becomes kind of at the forefront? And I would say that, if you're generally starting out, again, eradicating lust and maybe transmuting that sexual energy into building your quote unquote empire first, to some extent, kind of get your bearings straight if you can. But ultimately, right, like the human experience is to procreate. And so if you're not engaging with that to some capacity, to some level, it typically comes out in unhealthy ways, right? And so if you're practicing retention and you've eradicated lust and you're holding on to your nuts, you've got a full sack, and you've already been able to attract, a consistent workout routine. You're at a point now where you're working on your finances. You don't have to be at a specific spot, but where you feel comfortable, then yes, bring a priestess in. Find a quality woman. And the key is to resonate, and I use that word, resonate, right? If you want a quality woman, you need to be a quality. And so that's where that paradox is. Like a lot of men just think that they could be, on the couch eating cheesy puffs, and then, Kim Kardashian's going to walk through the door and sit on the couch with them and hold their hands. But like you gotta get up and be the man that the woman that you wants, right? And that's typically fine. You don't got to be the most jacked dude in the world, but yeah, you have to take initiative. You have to be honest. You have to do what you say you're gonna do. You have to be consistent. You can't be wishy-washy. Like that's the key, man. Like that like I think that's really the key, is to build a strong intrinsic foundation of just being virtuous, being moral, having a sound character, and then lifting weights and all this other external stuff just, I think, comes as a result of just being a good dude. And then you attract the beautiful women. I think ultimately that's it. It's not a quick fix, right? It's not like you're taking your Ozempic, you're taking, something to quickly get a turnaround. Like, this is a foundation that it's built upon, and it's not one day to the next. Like, you might look back, you might start this journey today and look back 6 months from now and have a good amount of success with women, but it's not going to look like it was one day or the next. It's a process. It's a gradual, consistent chipping away in the same direction.
Yeah, I think there's so much to be said for the testosterone. If you can just absolutely optimize your testosterone, you'll never have to look for women. You'll never have to go after them, because they'll be coming after you. it's the complete reversal, you know. Instead of being the one who's pursuing, you become the one who's pursued. If you can just, number one, get on retention. Number two, start lifting heavy weights. Number three, just start taking care of yourself, like eating properly, sleeping properly. Number four, have a good friend circle of males, because just being in the presence of men raises your testosterone. You know,
Yes.
just all these little things. And you give it 6 months, you give it a year, and you're going to be a completely different person of just doing those little basic things. You know, you don't have to make any crazy big moves. You just need to start giving your body the nourishment it needs, giving it the physical challenge that it needs to grow, and your test will just start rising. And then women will just start looking at you, especially if you're on retention. Women will just start like hovering in your field, and then it's just a matter of reaching out and plucking the fruit.
That's exactly it. You know, you don't even really think about the moves you're making. They're not that drastic. You know, when you look at them individually day to day, but it's just that consistent accumulation of doing it every day that you look back and it's like, oh shit, like, you know, now I can see it. Now I can see it. And what's crazy about it, Ben, is like when you've accumulated an amount of days, like let's say you've accumulated 6 months, right? And you just in one fit of lustful emotion, you decide to let it all go. You know, like you can feel instantly like that loss of energy, and like it's very difficult to feel that juxtaposition when you've been retaining for so long, right? Because it's been such a gradual process, a gradual increase, that it's like, okay, this is what 6 months feels like because it took 6 months to get here. But if you drop it all, like if I were to release now, like tomorrow being on day one, I would know exactly what day one feels like compared to that 6 months. And like that's what's crazy about it, is most men, you know, they don't know what that feels like. You know, they don't know that 6 months takes 6 months to feel the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one to the next. Yeah. So I would say my recommendation would be, you know, yes, focus on those little things. Focus on chipping away day by day. Don't even think about pursuing. Don't even think about women. And then you're just gonna notice, dude. You're just gonna notice that they're in your you know, your periphery. If you're at the store in the produce section and you're picking up the apples, then all of a sudden you kind of look over, and right next to you at the oranges is a woman. Then you know that she moved over to you know, because wanted to be in your energy. You get that sense too, where it's like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here, you know. And then I don't know, it's a different vibe, it's a different energy. You're not scanning the room for boobs or butts, you know. You're still scanning the room, but it's energy rather than the visual.
It's crazy to me that we're becoming like, just on this retention journey, you just become so attuned to energy. You become like a Jedi, like a psychic. So, I mean, for you, when you hit that 9 month streak, that was your longest ever. What
Longest.
what sort of things started happening to you in your life? Like what was that like? Because I've never even been there.
Man, I wish I could have kept going, but I'll tell you how it ended. See, I thought I could be in a relationship. At that point, I thought that at a 9 month accumulation that I was good to go. And so I quickly thought, hey, like I can get in a relationship now. And so I got it. It was almost like an incredible relationship fell into my lap, simply from from acknowledging that I felt like it was time. And I attribute that to the power of retaining for 9 months. But, I think that I should have maybe put my accumulated mental energy onto maybe getting another 9 months, or maybe, I don't know, something a little different female at that time, because very quickly after getting with the woman, I lost the streak. And of course, I didn't know anything about the perfect matrimony, or I didn't know anything about having a divine union with a woman, not really releasing. I didn't know any of the steps about that. I just kind of conceptually thought like, oh, okay, I think I can retain with her. I think I can do that. And then I learned that I couldn't. And the fact that, that feeling was so fresh, like the feeling of releasing was so fresh, that the habit just continued over time. Because it was like, before that, it had been 9 months. And so like the feeling wasn't fresh in my mind anymore. Like I couldn't really recall what it felt like to have an orgasm. But once it happened, it was like, oh, that's what that feels like, And then it's like, as Will Ferrell, Frank the Tank says in Old School, it's like, once it hits your lips, man, it's so good. And that's it's just, it's all downhill. So I'm going for at least another 9. I mean, I'm going forever. I'm going for the rest of my life. I'm never planning on filling the cup of Hermes. But the danger is this, and I'll hand it over. Like there's a saying in AA where you hang around a barbershop long enough, eventually you're going to get a haircut. So it's like, if you keep dabbling in this stuff, like, eventually something's, so how do you prepare yourself to entertain a woman on a sexual level on a consistent basis while still being able to hold your nuts?
Reminds me of a story that I heard recently from one of the guys in the community who shall remain anonymous, who is on a 5-year streak.
Oh, wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah, he's actually approaching Christification. Like he's literally metamorphosizing into Jesus Christ right now. But he said in his workplace, he's been finding that a lot of women get angry at him. And then he'll reassure them and just connect with them and soothe their egos a bit, and then they love him.
Like his presence just infuriates them, and then he's got to calm them down and say, hey, it's okay that I'm here, relax.
Yeah, it's like he's threatening to them because he's just too he's too magnetic. He's taking all the mental real estate of the workplace because everyone's just got their attention on him.
Ooh, yes, that all the women are feeling jealous, all the attractors are feeling upset that you got a male attractor that's getting all the attention. That's wild.
Yeah. So eventually, the longer you go on this path, you're gonna become so magnetic to women that they're either going to be attacking you or they're going to be thrusting themselves upon you. So you've got to be ready. You've got to be equipped with the knowledge. Just like you said, if you had this knowledge during your 9-month streak, then maybe you could have made that relationship work, Maybe you would be in this incredible place with her right now. But hey, if it could have, it would have. If it should have, it would have. But I want to share then with brothers watching this what I've learned, from the perfect matrimony, what I've found useful, because the exact same thing happened to me. It would have been about 4 months into a streak that I met the woman. And as you say, the feeling is so fresh, the sexual connection is so intense that it is very, very difficult not to give in. Unless you have decided in advance that you're not going to go there because you've already been there and you don't want to lose your power again. So the topic of Tantra, perfect matrimony, sexual alchemy, basically you've got to just be so, you've got to be so present and you've got to be so relaxed. Key number one. You've got to use your breath to move the tension, move the sexual pleasure out of your genitals throughout the rest of your body to circulate it. That's why the microcosmic orbit is such a big key. Personally, I don't strictly practice the microcosmic orbit, but I just use the breath to move the energy around the body to circulate it. The other thing is, there is other techniques that you can use once you start getting into it more, because when you start practicing sexual alchemy, at first it's very, very slow. But then as you practice more and you become more used to the feelings, you become more used to the intense currents of pleasure and you can handle them. It's like, when you drink, when you first start drinking alcohol, bad analogy, but you can't handle much. You can have like 1 or 2 drinks and then you feel pretty tipsy. But as you go on, you build a tolerance and you can start drinking like 15 drinks and barely feel it. It's a similar thing with the alchemy. It's intense when you start, but as you practice, you can start to become more passionate. You can start to become more involved. You can start to go deeper. And when you start getting to that level, when you've mastered that basic relaxation, you've mastered the ability to not allow yourself to get over aroused, to get over excited like a little kid in a candy shop. But you're being present, you're being centered, and you're breathing. You can start to really step it up, and you can start to get really primal and like bring out the beast. But even so, when you do that, you always maintain a connection to your center. That's the thing, you never fully go off the deep end, because as soon as you do, you're going to ejaculate, and then you're going to say goodbye to 6 months or 9 months worth of benefits, and fuck that. You don't want to do that, man. You got to be ready. You've got to be ready in advance. You've got to know in advance that you will not allow yourself to go there. And so there's certain things that I've found useful, even recently. This has been becoming, I'm realizing more that these certain things I do help a lot. One of them is the yogic technique of looking upwards towards the third eye. So many yogis will sit in meditation doing this, going cross-eyed, looking up at their third eye. And the direction of the eyes, where attention goes, energy flows. So you direct your eyes up like this, and you can actually feel the energy. You can feel the energy rising up towards your brain. Sometimes during sex, that will just happen spontaneously. Like a woman or a man, they'll just roll their eyes back in the back of their head. It's intense pleasure, but that's moving the energy up. Another thing I found really useful is clenching my jaw. As crazy as that sounds, you think it's counterintuitive because you want to be relaxed, but when you begin to clench up these muscles of the upper body, like my jaw, when I clench it, when I grit the teeth, somehow that also pulls the energy up. But that's the basic gist of what you want to be doing. You want to be pulling the energy up. Even the hands, you can clench your hands, bring a lot of tension into your hands, and it's like you're moving the focus of the energy up to the higher parts of the body. So these are just little techniques, little nuances that really, really help.
That's important. That's really important. I never considered actually visualizing, like having the eyes up to the third eye like that as a means of projecting that visual energy upwards to focus on the eye and providing it that strength.
Mm.
And then, it's like when you're engaging in coitus, when you're in the act, knowing kind of when you're on, what stage you're at. Like, I think even in the book, The Perfect Matrimony, there's a description, like on a scale of 1 to 10 of where, 10 being a release, where you want to be, through the intercourse. And I think he says you never want to get past the 7, or like a 6 or a 7, because then you're getting in dicey territory.
Yeah.
And so, like, do you know, like as a man, do you know when you're engaging in the act? Do you know what a 7 feels like? Do you know what a 9 feels like? Do you know how to peel back from a 7 without it going into a 10? And then, like, is there, this is just, I guess, communication. Like, do you have to then communicate that with your woman? Like how can you then cease the act or slow it down? Because ultimately she wants your energy. Like, even if you say, hey, look, I'm trying to retain, ultimately she wants your net. Yeah. A better term. And so, like even if you say, okay, stop, it's time to go, she's like, oh, I can't hear you. What are you saying? La 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 la. And next thing you know, you've released. And so there's danger with that as well, because you're also, and I say danger, right? Like, if you don't want to release
dangerous.
It 6 months, dangerous. It is dangerous. Actually, it is quite dangerous. It like you want to ensure that the woman isn't going to, like, do you dirty in that sense, because ultimately you're providing her kind of that power, right? Like, to some degree, to some capacity, you are in an arena with her to where she has the ability to drain you if you're not vigilant.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing. So yeah, like, like you said, clench your jaw, visual, look up, breathe deeply. And I think also in the book, there's a, like, not having any mind, not thinking, not having any thoughts.
Yeah.
So, and I'll end this thought with here, Ben. Like, think about it, dude. Like when you have a lustful thought, when you have a fantasy, some sort of a lustful thought, you can have a legitimate physical response. You can get a physical arousal just from entertaining a thought. Like, that's incredible power. You're inadvertently causing a physical reaction from having a lustful thought. And so there's a lot of power behind that. So if you're engaging in lustful thoughts while you're engaging in sex, that's going to just speed the process up.
Yeah, you got to be fully present with the energy. That's the key. Just focus your attention on the energy. The other thing is knowing when to stop, right? Knowing when to stop your arousal from climbing any higher and just literally withdrawing if you have to. But also the whole session. I found the times when I really fucked up was when we just had this incredible sex and then I just wanted more. This is why sexual alchemy is the master key, bro, because it applies to the whole life. If you can nail this, it applies to money, power, because they're the foundational things. Sex, money, power, that's why we're on this earth, to master those things, to find our harmonious balance with those things, integrating them into our lives but not being consumed by them. So the sex is the perfect microcosm for the rest of it. If you can handle the sexual pleasure, you can handle power. And what I find is you have these times when it's just incredible. I mean, it's incredible every time. And then that little greedy part of you wants more. That little bit of greed's just like, how much more of this can I get? And it's finding the mastery is in learning to find the line where you say, okay, this has been incredible. I'm a man. I'm walking away now. That is the hardest part. That's where that's where I came unstuck, where I was just like, nah, I just want to push it a little bit further, just get a little bit more intense, and then boom, nuts gone. That's the thing we got to master.
You're right, because on some level, you're cooked, right? On some level, that if you keep going, you're donezo's. But there's a part of you that's like, hey, I just want this. I just want to keep going. It's like it's just fun. It's great, you know. And especially like if you stop, you know, if you stop and then you lay down afterwards, you know, and then like the feeling is still there. It's like an itch that needs to be scratched. And so you got to get comfortable with being okay with the presence of that itch and not scratching it all the way. And that's so hard, right? That's temperance, right? That's temperance.
Yeah.
That's like knowing, having the knowledge that like, okay, I know myself and this is the end of the line. And if I keep going, done. And so I gotta trust myself and peel back. And you're right.
That's the mark of a man.
Yeah.
That's the mark of a man, is being able to say, this has been incredible, and now I'm going to withdraw. And I know there'll be a next time, and it'll be even better, but I'm okay with walking away now. Like, we're good. I don't need to keep reaching out for more. That's the thing.
You know, that's exactly it. You know, and having that faith and just trusting yourself and saying like, okay, that's it. Move on. You know, put it down, and especially if you have an addictive personality, like if you're an addict and you don't know how to say no, you know, that's incredibly difficult to practice that level of temperance, especially with sex. You know, you're dealing with the most potent form of this stuff, and it's like that higher level of you is telling that carnal nature, like, hey, chill out, like that's it. That battle, that kind of that gridlock that's caused there, and so I think that's why we've talked about the importance of being in a right state of mind. If you know that lust has completely damaged your life, you've lost relationships, you know, you've lost all sorts of stuff, then a week of practicing retention probably isn't enough before you jump back into the game. Like you gotta completely purge yourself of this stuff, because it takes that ability to engage in temperance. Like you have to have enough control over the addiction. That's why, you know, it's okay. When you stop drinking, you're not giving up liquids. You still have to drink water. You still have to drink something. You're just not drinking alcohol. So you still have to engage in the act of consuming liquid, of drinking. So for most men, if we want to ensure the survival of humanity, there needs to be a sustainable level of procreation, meaning that men have to have intercourse with women. But just like drinking is with the physical act of drinking liquid, you don't have to lust and degeneracy to have physical intercourse with a woman. You can engage in this level of unity and of union with a divine counterpart that's deep, that's rooted, that isn't superficial. And then hopefully as a result, offspring is produced out of love instead of lust, which has an incredible result on the longevity of a society and of civilization as a whole. If you have a bunch of children, if you have an entire generation born out of lust where their parents hate each other, what do you think? What kind of a cycle do you think that's going to perpetuate over time in future generations?
Demons.
Demons.
Plunging the world into darkness.
That's it. And so that's why there has, you know, like, yes, remain chaste. There's a time and a place for chastity. There's a time and a place for eradicate, you know, for not engaging with women. But then there comes a time and a place where it's time for reunification. And sure, so there are monks, there are some men that their calling is 100% to focus on that lifestyle, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is a calling for that. But again, if every man practiced that, where would that lead us?
To a world of infrasexuals who have to act out. Who have to act out in deviant ways because they're denying the most core fundamental desire that God has created in us as men. Well, bro, let's wrap it up there. I think I think we really nailed
Bro,
some.
dude, my are getting ripped, bro. You're getting that. Look at that, bro. Are you wearing one of those suits, those Halloween suits, those sumo wrestling suits? No, you're not. That's real, bro. That's real. That's not pad. That's not a padded shirt.
Nah, man. It's 100% muscle and a bit of fat. So, yeah, we touched on some really major points there, bro. I think that's really going to help some brothers getting into that mindset of preparation, of knowing what's coming, and being prepared. So, do you want to do the jump in the sack spiel? Because you're really good at that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, gentlemen, listen up. If you've been struggling with luck, you've been struggling with any form of addiction recently over the past several years, and you've found that it's always a perpetual cycle of saying, oh, it's tomorrow, oh, the next day, oh, I know it's an issue, but I'll give it up in due time. Stop selling yourself short. Get in the sack with us. Get into this melding of the minds, this mind melt, where you have a bunch of men that are on the same path, on the same frequency as you are. And I mean, think about it. I know, look, there's a little bit of a monetary barrier to get in. It's $15. But hey, look, you can go spend $15 on a couple of pre-rolls. You can spend $15 on a meal over at McDonald's, or, you know, a 6-pack of beer, or a couple pack of cigarettes. And all this stuff's gone within like a day or a few minutes. But for $15, you can get access for 30 days to this group thing. And I guarantee you, if you immerse yourself in these conversations, if you allow yourself to be involved with them, it's going to rub off on you. And next thing you know, you're going to have 30 days of retention. And then you're going to want another 30. And you're going to realize that, hey, wait a minute, that $30 that I spent for that month in the group just saved me at least $120 in other areas of my life, because I've become chaste and I've become temperate in all these areas. And so jump on in, the Sons of God Discord community. There's a link in the description down below. Also, if you want to take it to an even deeper level, we now offer one-on-one coaching through the Phoenix program. This is a little pricier. This is $100 a month, but you're getting one-on-one access. You're getting one-on-one calls. You're getting chats. So this is full immersion, full integration, where the results are there. If you are present and you're putting yourself into it, the results come. So don't hesitate. Jump on in.
Yeah, you'll be working, if you decide to jump in on Phoenix, the entire aim is to get you to 90 days plus. This is where the real magic starts to happen. And you'll be paired with a mentor who is on at least 90 days or more themselves. So you're going to be working with a veteran. Very, very powerful. All right, brother. Well, thank you for another banger. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you.
You have a beautiful day there in Kentucky. I'll talk to you soon.
You as well. In Australia, God bless you. God bless your family. May peace be with you. Thank you, Ben. Much love, brother.
Much love, bro. Talk soon.